Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to another episode. I thought I talk about something that is, memorable, the idea of memory. To be honest, this is going to be a short episode. But anyways, let's go with it. Do memories veil reality's truth? And what could the conscious engine in the void be? Reality is fascinating. It appears as one singular event, but when we look at how that singular event is happening, there's multiple layers to it. The idea of memory is an interesting one. There has been times where I've wondered, how do I know what I know? And what memories become conscious and how do they become conscious? What is the main force behind our intelligence that considers one memory to be more real than others? Technically, what human life is that it's the journey of one body on a planet, but it's the journey of a mind into various senses of self. It's like our mind. There was this movie called Jumper. And by the mere presence of the main character's attention, that character could jump anywhere, right? And to me, it feels that behind our eyes, we are jumping from self to self to self to self. And that is how memory is in some sense structured. It's kind of like memory is the byproduct of how decisions were made by some force. Right now, even me speaking, based on my decency or indecency in this moment, I am building a sense of self for my future self to remember. That's the fascinating thing, that what life is that when you look at it on the level of the outer realms, when you look at it at the level of the body, it is mobility, it's navigation, it's transport oriented. But when you look at behind your eyes, it's as if we are journeying through different worldviews. And this is important to notice, It's like the body is how a self changes in a world. And the mind is how a world changes the self. Our minds are the context generator to our body. Now, human beings have different capabilities, and what's really cool about human life is that everybody starts from their own corner of the universe, not realizing the first universe of meaning we find ourselves is our inner realms. You look at a very young child and you look at an old man, and a person wonders, it's like, what is the difference? Or let's say, hypothetically, an extraterrestrial landed in the future and was like, yo, these creatures that are aging, or like, what's the difference in their psychology? The reality is that everybody starts from their inner realms and they climb out of it. And sometimes the functions of life whether through necessity or through unique karma or whatever it is. It's as if like the way the human intelligence advances is that it meets its own limits and it has a choice to surpass them or in some sense be limited by them. I mean, what else can limits do? Right now, for example, a motivation for me to continue giving these talks whenever I can is really that it's like I have this idea where could my limit be 10,000 talks, and it's like, how would that be possible, right? It's as if I'm trying to surpass the limit of my own mind's generation and vision. Our memories are how the world has been contained. The inner realms suggest the ethnocentrism that our local environment conditions us in. When the question goes towards which memories become stored, like as if when it comes to the understanding of the mind and memory, for now we have this idea that there's short-term memory and long-term memory. And those people who are fascinated by memory palaces, they come to realize that anything where the human being directly experientially engages with and is more abstract becomes memorable, becomes more memorable, becomes placed more in the, what do you call it, in the long-term memory. I find that what human beings are doing is that the intelligence is storifying itself. And so in every moment, a person stations themselves in manifestation as a character of meaning in a story that is the meaningless being turned into meaning. There has been times where I have, I would say, felt my existence as just space. There has been moments where I have had memories where I have felt, are these memories from my mind? And I've come to this recognition that really what it is that nature is occurring as a singular event to itself. And what I mean by that is that just like we don't consider, let's say, when a human being eats food, they don't say like something specific is happening to this organ, that organ, this part. It's like we don't fragment the body parts. The body parts are kept as a sort of whole. So what that means is when we acknowledge our biology, it's like we're one human body. So similarly, when we look at the universe and the way it's happening, existence is like the body of space. And so it's occurring in a sort of singular mode. Now, the question may arise where why does the human being have a mind, and in some sense, why does the human being have such a sophisticated mind? Like, here's a fun fact that I think people don't know, right? For anybody who's ever felt embarrassed in this lifetime, do you know, it's as if we are the only species that feels embarrassment, you know? Because we consider the validity of our past memories and signifying meaning to our future. There have been moments where I have experienced inner realm events. That means I've literally been still and silent, and behind my eyes the world has moved. And there has been moments where in the outer realms the world has moved before my inner realms could. Now, the good thing about the outer realms moving before the inner realms is that the person doesn't have to imagine. Reality is kind of like free imagination. Reality is like existence is like, you know, imagination that one didn't need to put an effort to position, right? Like if right now we're born on a world, right, as human beings, but imagine if the human being just opened its eyes and it was floating in the middle of space as some sort of immortal consciousness, you know. There's content pretty much in existence. Existence is not contentless. A contentless existence would be as if space before matter could be anything, right? Really what it is being alive is, I would say, pretty much what a lifetime is strategy, discovery. Everything that's intelligent is implementing some sort of strategy. That means every person, that anything that is animate in this realm, there's a force behind it. So it's like we look at a human being and we're like, okay, or here, I'll give you an example. We look at imagine an alien lands down on Earth and there's this car driving past this alien, hypothetically, and this car has tinted windows, and let's say this is not like a very advanced alien, and this alien looks at the car with the tinted windows and thinks that the car is the actual entity. So imagine an alien trying to like shake hands with a car, you know, with a car with tinted windows, right? So you know, the alien would thinks that the surface is the reality. Suddenly the alien realizes that inside the vehicle there's a driver, right? And so now imagine realizing inside the driver is the mind. You know, it's kind of like, let's say somebody's driving a car. It's like the car is the first vehicle, then the body inside the car is like the second vehicle, and then you can say the mind inside the body is like the third vehicle. Or in some sense, the body is the driver of the car, the mind is driver of the body, and this is where I would say if we consider the mind is made of impressions, or the Vedic term is samskara, if the mind is just like an ocean of information, and we're never just being a wave in it. It's as if like what is moving the memories, right? So when somebody says, do memories veil reality's truth, it's another way of saying if all your memories that lead to an ideological construct. So it's as if like, again, I'll go to the example. Someone's driving a car. They are inside the car. They are like poetically like the soul of the car. Okay. Now we have the human body, and what is the human body being driven by? It's being driven by a sense of self, the ego, which is the content of the mind. How is the ego functioning? The ego is functioning through a contrast of how one moment is separate from all the other moments of mind. So in some sense, the ability the human intelligence has to discriminate that one moment is separate from other moments is the quality of consciousness. You see, it's like hidden in duality. The secret of consciousness is instant. You know. There are moments that I remember, from my past, and I realize that aside from the memories, visual content existing, it's as if one's feeling also exists. It's as if we don't just remember what happened to us, we also remember how it happened to us, which is the emotion part, right? So it's as if every memory that is accompanied by an emotion. And believe it or not, when that emotion activates, the memory is unlocked. So it's like literally if a person feels, imagine there's like the human intelligence is like an antenna, but it's like a sort of onion style antenna. Okay. And so there's one antenna. It's as if right now, if I was to consider, let me rephrase this, the levels of intelligence that the human being has access to. Right now, I am sitting on my balcony, physical level as an object. So in accordance to the dimension of an object, there is an ability there, and really what is the ability of an object to move in space? All abilities are pretty much that for an object. That means the most free people could move anywhere, pretty much. That's the idea. So there is a dimension, object-oriented, a dimension of objecthood. And then, alongside, simultaneously accompanying this dimension of objecthood, there's a dimension of subjecthood, a dimension of subjectivity. Now, what does this mean? Subjectivity is actually remarkable because what our memories seem to be is how the free will sculpted the worldview in a moment, right? One of the best metaphors, I remember reading this in a book about psychology. Honestly, what I'm trying to say, just like a warrior on a battlefield or like a general on a battlefield that wonders about the strategy and tactics to the battle, You can say the tactics are like short-term implementations, the strategy is the long-term implementation. Tactics being the means to actualize the strategy. So it's as if I'm saying, all right, we're wondering about how consciousness is strategizing in the void while standing on matter, and so we acknowledge there's the physical dimension. The dimensions of the body. Now, when it comes to the dimensions of the mind, which are simultaneously present as the body, just like Friedrich Nietzsche says, if a tree falls in a forest and there was nobody there to see it, it's like to hear it, did the tree fall? You know. So it's the idea that mind is required to be active the same time as the body in order for the body to be intelligent enough for there to be free will. Free will and the body, it's like the mind and the body are like the intersection of two dimensions. Really, we're just like imagine a creature stepped out of the water. So in evolutionary biology, you know, our biological eyes actually developed under the water, and so it's like the ocean was acting as a sort of filter, sensitivity filter, you know. And so just like a creature stepped out of the water and that was like a portal, like evolutionary experience, similarly for human beings alive in 2022, our ancestors managed to step into the portal where the mind could be acknowledged differently than the body. This is the ability of imagination. The fact that the word imagination, the word mind, the word soul, you know, the word God, the fact that these concepts exist is like a testament to how the structure of the idea is in the subconscious of the species, right? There's so many things that are, it's as if reality is not held by one idea, rather it's held by many one ideas, but what is held is not an idea. It makes sense to wonder about what we have access to, stranded on a, you know, pebble in a light beam and stranded on a galactic island called Earth. You know, like if they made a video game where the main character started having a sort of you know, amnesia of its past, that means it's as if like take away a character's memories and take away or how would I say it, it's as if like in order for novelty to be truly established there has to be nothing before, you know. In religion, for example, the idea, at least of monotheistic religions, seems to be the concept of submission. And what submission means is not a person submitting their free will, but in some sense a person, in some sense, submitting their ego, which is the shape of their free will. And so the idea is that it's like when the person surrenders their ego, the world is not, the free will is not an idea moving the world, it becomes in some sense the world moving before there is an idea of self. So religion is a way of universalizing an entity that starts out in conception and recognizes everything originates from the inconceivable. Right? Religion's true meaning, all religions really, anything, whenever somebody says metaphysics, spirituality, transcendence, all of this is just implying that there is a point that we can't give value. There is something happening here that surpasses information. Now, in the religious monotheistic view, the person submitting their ego, so that means they are having complete, total faith in the causal position of being, in the inconceivable causal position of being. And so that video game analogy I was saying, it's like you're in an infinite, inconceivable place. And just when we thought, oh man, how are we going to go explore the edge of the universe, the edge of our minds is also unknown. That means there is the edge of two universes that we cannot see. The edge of the mind and the edge of the body. I think that's a very beautiful idea. We cannot see the edge of our mind and we cannot see the edge of our body unless we become the unknown watching the known. But that's when a mystic has reached a point where they don't need a subject or an object to know what they are. When a being realizes they in anything you attain some sort of unconditional being, let's say energy or view, it emanates in other dimensions of your life. It's as if like once you surpass one fear, all fears of the similar level are surpassed in all other dimensions. Right now, we're living at a time where without our memories, we're considering nothing is true. You know, we are taking the event of the brain as the event of the world. And so when you step out of your inner realms, it's very fascinating because if, wisdom at first becomes like, I need to know more, know more, know more. And then suddenly it reaches a point where you realize what you don't know is what is left to learn. The unknown is the teaching of the greatest teachers. And if it is not the unknown, the teacher was too convinced by shape. It's literally like manifestation is like appearing in a random checkpoint. It's like the person reads a history book and wonders, wait a minute, why was I born now? Why not in any other sort of time period, you know? In this book I'm writing called Civilization 2.0, I have seen phases to the human species going forward in the future. Pretty much there's going to be a geometrical revolution, then the cyberspace revolution, and then we reach the Mecha revolution. The Mecha revolution is spelled M-E-C-H-A. And it's that era where man has been in cyberspace so long that he in some sense steps out of cyberspace, but his trust of machine has become something else. You know, it's very fascinating. Right now technology is outside of us, right? But for the future generations, technology is going to be as natural as how they have a body. You know, it's like the Jarvis from Iron Man was foreshadowing a time period where every human being will be assisted by intelligent backup systems. Psychologically. What the mind is doing is technically like Jarvis from Iron Man, right? The person sees something and then what is desire? A desire is like a sentence or a film in disguise behind your eyes. There have been moments where I have wondered if the conclusion of meaning just comes down to how the moment is being held. like a person, any person who has ever said, like, I understand, you know, it's as if what can a human being understand in a changing world? They can only understand how much of it they have seen so far. It's like the younger you are, you desire to be a concept in the world. And the older you get, the more you learn how the context is being. We are some sort of energy. Now, this energy could be veiled by memory. It could be that why memories are veiling the truth of reality's truth is because how the brain is happening is not how reality is. You know, it's how the brain is happening. It's as if the person's like, wait a minute, when I see like a coffee cup on a table, am I seeing that coffee cup, or just like we have the concept of second-hand smoke? It's as if it's the person's like, wait a minute, when I see that or see a coffee cup, is that second-hand light? You know, is that in some sense what the brain, it's as if, is our sight just what we see in front of our eyes, or is our sight brain plus whatever the sight is? That means that a philosophical argument can be made that no human being can ever see what is actually in the outer realms. We see what is actually there filtered through our memory, through our brain. It's as if the brain is performing, you know, the same time light is becoming reality. Sorry guys, this is oh man. The seasons have changed, and sometimes, you know, the throats of podcasters can itch. Like I guess to bring this episode to a conclusion, what I mean by the conscious engine in the void is that material, objective circumstances have led to subjective recognition. We have reached a point where we know that life is a sophisticated movement, the intelligence of life. Now, the depth of this sophisticated movement surpasses the humanized archetype. So it's as if right now we are, if I could say it, I guess poetically, the mind is dressed as the human story. But what the raw nature of the mind is that all that it can be is the whole moment. So right now people are associating with being a body, people are associating with, you know, being an ego, people are associating with even being the soul that can go out of body or not. But I will tell you, one cannot see the soul until they have an out of mind experience. And when I say out of mind experience, that's when the attention becomes independent to memory. The presence of attention becomes independent to the subjective filters of memory. An organism is like a chemical engine. Really what free will is, how we hold the steering wheel and how we put our foot on the gas pedal. Right now, me giving this talk, it is very similar. I have a sort of direction where the talk should go, like the GPS address of the talk is the title. And so me giving the talk, allowing energy to express in this moment, is becoming like my foot on the gas pedal. And so it's as if there's a dimension of, you know what it is really? It's like how a person has lived suggests all the type of past their future self has to deal with. I feel that memories are snapshots of this endless changing film. Memories are, like how consciousness hunts and gathers before before sleep, It's like back in the day, the person was a hunter-gatherer, people were hunter-gatherers in a tribe. Now it's like the moment the mind wakes up, it's hunting and gathering, but it's gathering information and hunting for new experiences. It's like the mind is hunting for novelty and gathering information. It's honestly fascinating. Let me go into a quote tunnel, guys, and I'll end this off. Dr. Seuss. Sometimes you will never know the value of something until it becomes a memory. Cesar Pavese says we do not remember days, we remember moments. Ed Parker says time and space may separate us, but not the thoughts and memories that bind us. Oscar Wilde says memory is the diary that we all carry about with us. Marcel Proust says even though our lives wander, our memories remain in one place. Rose Kennedy says life isn't a matter of milestones, but of moments. Jeremy Irons says we all have our time machines. Some take us back, they're called memories. Some take us forward, they're called dreams. Mencius says the best things in life come in threes, like friends, dreams, and memories. Oscar Levant says happiness isn't something you experience, it's something you remember. David Renner says friends are the most important part of your life. Treasure the tears, treasure the laughter, but more importantly, treasure the memories. Bob Dylan says take care of all your memories, for you cannot relive them. Haruki Murakami says memories warm you up from the inside, but they also tear you apart. Nicholas Sparks says it happens to everyone as they grow up. You find out who you are and what you want, and then you realize that people you've known forever don't see things the way you do. So you keep the wonderful memories, but find yourself moving on. Maya Angelou says, I've learned that people will forget what you said. Maya Angelou says, I've learned that people will forget what you said, but people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And you know why? Because people are trying to hold their honor all the time. Honor is like our heartbeat for the psychology of the mind, right? It's as if like if a person feels dishonored, they throw away realities, really, right? It's like a person could act like a friend and then instantly they're dishonored, their psychology could shift and they could become, like an enemy, right? That's the issue with emotions. It flips us like pancakes, You know how many wars could have been stopped if people in that moment, did not prioritize their emotions over their thoughts. Lionel Hampton says gratitude is when memory is stored in the heart and not in the mind. A.A. Milne says how lucky I am to have something that makes saying goodbye so hard. Marcus Tullius Cicero says memory is the treasury and guardian of all things. Arsene Houssaye says always have old memories and young hopes. Leonard Nimoy says a life is like a garden. Perfect moments can be had but not preserved except in memory. Stephen Wright says whenever I think of the past, it brings back so many memories. Georges Duhamel says we do not know the true value of our moments until they have undergone the test of memory. Tennessee Williams says life is all memory except for the one present moment that goes by you so quickly you hardly catch it going. Susan B. Anthony says sooner or later we all discover that the important moments in life are not the advertised ones, not the birthdays, the graduations, the weddings, not the great goals achieved. The real milestones are less prepossessing. They come to the door of memory unannounced, stray dogs that amble in, sniff around a bit and simply never leave. Our lives are measured by these. I would say this passage is a pointer to wonder. There's something, guys, I'll tell you about the unknown and just the spirit of fascination which leads to advancement that is in some sense like there's something about the unknown that surpasses all the expectations of knowledge. The unknown is the most beautiful thing the mind has discovered. The unknown is actually beautiful because it is the potential of anything. It could be, it's as if like, who knows, the future right now is an unknown. We are coloring it in through our thoughts or we're veiling it through memory, or we're filtering it through memory. What hidden freedom do our eyes really belong to? That's the question. The last quote is Umberto Eco, we are always remaking history, our memory is always an interpretive reconstruction of the past, so is perspective. And a final quote, Khalil Gibran says, yesterday is but today's memory and tomorrow is today's dream. Anyways, thanks for listening to this episode. Do memories veil reality's truth? It could be that reality's truth is beyond any relationship the human idea has with anything. So in some sense, if reality is unknown and memories are what is allowing us to know it, in some sense we can say memories are veiling the truth that reality could be. And so the efforts of this conscious engine in the void is to cultivate the most advanced and the most ultimate in front of its eyes and behind its eyes, by just realizing what else can be done in the void. The great performance of the living, seems to be the divinity in the room. Anyways, thanks for listening. Much blessings and